Have you ever wondered why the Israel-Palestine conflict, a dispute so deeply rooted in history, remains unresolved today? This conflict is a complex tapestry, woven with threads of historical origins, religious significance, and political machinations. It's a puzzle that has confounded global leaders and peacekeepers alike, with its intricate layers of narratives and counter-narratives. As we delve deeper into this issue, we'll unravel its complexities and explore its enduring resonance. So buckle up, join us as we navigate the intricate maze of the Israel-Palestine conflict. To understand the present, we must first delve into the past. Our journey begins in the late 19th century. It was a time of great change, and two compelling movements were emerging in the Middle East: Zionism and Arab nationalism. Zionism, led by Theodor Herzl, was a response to centuries of persecution faced by Jews in Europe. It was a Jewish nationalist movement, a yearning for a homeland, a place where Jews could live freely. This homeland, they believed, was the biblical land of Israel, known then as Palestine. Meanwhile, Arab nationalism was also on the rise. The Arabs, who had lived in Palestine for centuries, felt the winds of change too. They sought independence from the Ottoman Empire, which had ruled the region for over 400 years. They dreamed of sovereignty, of self-determination, of a state of their own. Into this mix entered the British, who, during the First World War, made a promise that would have far-reaching consequences. In 1917, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour penned a letter to Baron Rothschild, a leader of the British Jewish community. This letter, known as the Balfour Declaration, expressed Britain's support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. After the war, the League of Nations granted Britain the mandate for Palestine. Under the mandate, Britain was supposed to guide Palestine towards self-governance. However, the Balfour Declaration and the influx of Jewish immigrants led to rising tensions between the Jewish and Arab communities. The British, unable to reconcile the conflicting promises they'd made to the Jews and Arabs, and the violent clashes that ensued, eventually handed over the issue to the United Nations in 1947. And so the stage was set for a conflict that would span decades. The year 1948 marked a pivotal point in this historical saga. A year that saw the eruption of a conflict that would reverberate through the decades and the birth of a new nation, the State of Israel. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War, also known as the War of Independence or Nakba, depending on which side of the narrative you're on, was a significant juncture in the Israel-Palestine story. Just hours after Israel's proclamation of independence in May 1948, armies from neighboring Arab states launched an attack. The aim? To prevent the establishment of a Jewish state in what they considered to be Arab lands. This conflict was not just a war of armies, but a struggle of narratives, identities, and the right to self-determination. The war, lasting roughly 8 months, was a turbulent period filled with battles, ceasefires, and diplomatic maneuverings. Despite being outnumbered, the newly formed Israeli forces managed to repel the Arab armies, securing their nascent state's survival. Yet, the aftermath of the war was far from rosy. The State of Israel had been established, but at a significant cost. This period saw one of the largest forced migrations in modern history, known as the Palestinian Exodus, or the Nakba, which means catastrophe in Arabic. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians fled or were expelled from their homes, creating a refugee crisis that still persists today. This exodus left deep scars, not only on the landscape, but on the collective memory of the Palestinian people. For many, their displacement marked the loss of a homeland, the beginning of a life in exile, and the start of a struggle for recognition and return. The 1948 war and its aftermath set the stage for a series of future conflicts and peace attempts, each adding a new layer of complexity to this intricate historical puzzle. The establishment of the State of Israel and the Palestinian Exodus continue to shape the dynamics of this region, the echoes of 1948 still resounding in the politics, the people, and the land itself. This war left an indelible mark on the region, shaping the course of events for years to come. The following decades were punctuated by wars, peace attempts, and a constant tug of war. This tumultuous period began with the Six-Day War in 1967. In an astounding display of military prowess, Israel expanded its territories by seizing the Gaza Strip and Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, the West Bank from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. This swift victory, however, did not spell the end of the conflict, but rather fueled it. 6 years later, the Yom Kippur War erupted. On the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, a coalition of Arab states led by Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack on Israel. Despite initial losses, Israel managed to repel the invasion. The war ended in a stalemate, but it marked a shift in the region's dynamics, with Egypt gradually moving away from the Soviet Union's sphere of influence towards the United States. In the early 90s, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of the Oslo Accords. These agreements, brokered by the United States, marked the first time that Palestinians and Israelis recognized each other's right to exist. It was a significant breakthrough, but the path to peace was far from smooth. The turn of the millennium witnessed the Second Intifada. This Palestinian uprising against Israeli occupation was characterized by a wave of suicide bombings and violent attacks. It resulted in a significant loss of life on both sides and led to a hardening of attitudes. These events, from military confrontations to diplomatic negotiations, have shaped the course of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Each war, each peace attempt, each act of violence and retaliation has left its mark, adding layers of complexity to an already intricate issue. Yet, amidst the turmoil, there have been moments of hope, instances of dialogue, and attempts at reconciliation. These events fueled the flames of the conflict, further complicating the path to peace. As we navigate through the present state of affairs, it's essential to remember this history, to understand the struggles and aspirations of both sides, and to recognize the human cost of this enduring conflict. Scene script. Fast forward to the present day, where the conflict continues to simmer. In the heart of the Middle East, the Israel-Palestine situation remains a turbulent landscape, with the status of Jerusalem being one of the most significant points of contention. Jerusalem, a city holy to 3 of the world's major religions, is currently under Israeli control. However, Palestinians also lay claim to East Jerusalem, envisioning it as the capital of a future Palestinian state. The international community remains divided on this issue, with no easy solutions in sight. Moving to the West Bank, we find Israeli settlements, communities established by Israel on lands captured during the Six-Day War of 1967. These settlements are a source of ongoing controversy and tension. They are viewed by many as a violation of international law, yet they continue to grow, pushing the boundaries of Israel further into what Palestinians see as their land. The settlements have become a significant obstacle to peace, complicating the possibility of a two-state solution. But we cannot talk about the present state of affairs without mentioning the Palestinian refugee issue. Since the birth of the Israeli state, countless Palestinian families have been displaced from their homes. Today, they number in the millions, living in refugee camps scattered across the Middle East. Their right to return to their ancestral homes remains a key demand of the Palestinian people. However, for Israel, the return of these refugees would drastically alter the nation's demographic balance, a prospect it views with concern. In the midst of these complexities, attempts at peace continue, though they are often met with setbacks. The two sides remain locked in a cycle of action and reaction, each incident fueling further mistrust and hostility. Despite the efforts of the global community, a comprehensive resolution seems elusive. Today, the Israel-Palestine conflict remains one of the world's most contentious issues. As we move forward, it is essential to keep in mind the human cost of this conflict and the urgent need for a just and lasting peace. The Israel-Palestine conflict is not just a territorial dispute, it is much more complex. Indeed, it is a multifaceted issue, seeped in layers of historical, religious, political, and humanitarian dimensions that intertwine and overlap. Let's consider the religious aspect. This land holds significant spiritual importance for Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. The Western Wall, Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, all situated within a stone's throw of each other in Jerusalem, symbolize the intricate religious ties to this region. Politically, the situation is no less complicated. The drive for self-determination, national identity, and statehood fuels the ambitions of both Israelis and Palestinians. The question of who has the right to govern and represent the people in this region is a contentious issue, further complicated by the involvement of international powers with their own geopolitical interests. Additionally, the humanitarian aspect cannot be overlooked. Countless lives have been disrupted on both sides. Families have been displaced, livelihoods destroyed, and generations have grown up knowing nothing but conflict. The human cost is immense and continues to mount with each passing day. This complexity means there are no easy or quick solutions. Each dimension of the conflict demands careful attention and understanding. It's a puzzle that requires patience and perseverance to unravel. As we have seen, the Israel-Palestine conflict is a tangled web of history, politics, and emotions. So, why has the Israel-Palestine conflict remained unresolved? The riddle is steeped in history, shaped by multiple wars and peace attempts, and complicated by the present state of affairs. It's an intricate puzzle, a tangled web spun from diverse narratives and perspectives. Yet within this complexity lies the crux of the issue, the shared longing for a homeland, for stability, for peace. Perhaps the answer lies not just in understanding the past, but in forging a future where both sides can coexist peacefully.